Today, Wizards released a preview of some of the cards we can look for in Marvel Superheroes, the upcoming set next year. There are about 20 spoiler cards that we're going to talk about today. I'm pretty excited. The cards look fun, they look flavorful, and of the IPs in recent times, Marvel is one that I've actually engaged in. Cards are looking good. Let's get into what was released today. These cards are in no particular order. They're just the way that I saw them on the Wizards website. So first we have the Coming of Galactus. So it's a 5 mana saga. Chapter 1, you destroy a target non-land permanent. So just solid removal. Chapters 2 and 3, each opponent loses 2 life. Worded like that for Commander, obviously. Not the most impactful chapters. You've paid 5 mana and not too much has happened yet. But then Chapter 4, you create a 16/16 Elder Alien with flying trample, and whenever it attacks, destroy target land. So Merit Lage is coming to standard, pretty exciting stuff. 16/16, it's bigger than Emrakul, which is just fun. If someone knows the Marvel reason why it's 16 specifically, let me know in the comments. But I do not. Seems super fun though. I'll definitely be putting this into my Golgari Commander decks. I don't think it sees any play outside of that though. Super cool. Next, we have a card that we all knew was going to come, which is Captain America. This one is Captain America Super Soldier. It's a 3-cost white 3/2 legendary creature human soldier hero with first strike. So solid base stats. Then it enters with a shield counter on it. So shield counters, I think, started in Capenna, but they say if Cap would be dealt damage or destroyed, instead just remove the shield counter. So if he would only be dealt 1 damage, you remove the shield counter, or if you target him with like go for the throat, the shield counter would get removed. So he dodges 1 death. And then as long as Cap has a shield counter on him, you and other heroes you control have hexproof. I think this is a pretty banging card. I could see this going into modern humans. It's a human that gives you hexproof. They have to kill it before they kill other things. Now, it gives heroes hexproof, not humans. But even still, I could see this making waves in older formats. And it just seems like a good aggro card in standard. We'll see how the heroes shake out, but not going to be a commander. But overall, a very cool card. Moving on, we have the Sentry, Golden Guardian. Now, I've interacted with Marvel mainly through the movies, so I've never heard of the Sentry personally. But it's a 4 mana 5/5 flying vigilance indestructible. Okay. When it enters, target opponent creates the Void, a legendary 5/5 black creature with flying, indestructible, and attacks each combat if able. So both you and your opponent have these 5/5 flying indestructible creatures. Now theirs has to attack, and yours can block it because it has vigilance and indestructible. So in theory, they have to attack, you block, both stay, you attack, you get through because theirs doesn't have vigilance. So I don't know. It seems interesting. If they exile or bounce your thing, they get the 5/5. But if they bounce it, you play it again, they get another token. The token is legendary, so it goes away. I'm pretty interested in this card. I think there's a lot of power going on here. Let's figure out how to break it in all the formats. If you have any ideas, leave them in the comments. Next up, we have a flip card, the only flip card revealed so far, and one that I think makes a lot of sense, and that's Bruce Banner. Spoiler alert, he flips into the Hulk. He's a 1 mana 1/1 human scientist hero, so solid stats. Legendary creature, so get your Mox Ambers out. You can pay XX, tap, and draw X cards, which is super powerful. Activate only as a sorcery. Still medium powerful. Pay 2, tap, draw a card. Fine. Then it has the newer text for flip cards where you can pay 6 and transform Bruce, or you can just cast the backside and skip the front altogether. So for 2 double red, double green, you can have the Incredible Hulk. So love the art, love the name, solid. So this is a Gamma Berserker hero. Gamma is a crazy creature type. So it's an 8/8 reach trample, and it has Enrage, which seems really fun. Whenever the Incredible Hulk is dealt damage, put a 1/1 counter, and if he's attacking, untap, and there's an additional combat phase. So you attack with this 8/8 Trampler. If they block it with a couple things, you untap it, put a counter on it, and attack again. So they either have to block it to kill it, or they just can't block it, which, I mean, it's hard to block the Hulk. So costing 6 and not having indestructible reward seems fair. Like, I don't think this is going to break anything. Super powerful, super fun. And I think this is a fun commander build around. You know, you kind of have the start where you're just in Bruce Banner mode. You can draw some cards, and then you flip them over and start beating face. So excited about that. Next, we have the first card that I'm actually a little bit worried about. So Quicksilver is a 1 mana 1/1 legendary, very important mutant hero. If Quicksilver is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with him on the battlefield. So you start for 0 mana with a 1/1 legendary in play. And that just turns on Mox Amber for 0. I could see this making it into modern burn decks. You know, suddenly your ambers are on. You know, you play this, you play Ragavan, you slot in Mox Ambers in modern burn. You know, super interesting. Um, then it's a 1/1 haste, so you can also just pay 1/1 haste. Meh. And then power up is a new mechanic. Power up 5. Put a 1/1 counter and a double strike counter on him. So for 5, he becomes a 2/2 double strike haste. Fine. And then you can activate it only once, so like exhaust. And you reduce the cost by the mana value if it entered this turn. You can play him and power him up for 4, or you can play him and then later power him up for a full 5. I think power up is an interesting mechanic. It just screams exhaust to me, but it makes sense with these haste creatures. You might want to do it all in one go, but just being able to put them in on turn 0 and then play a Mox Amber seems very good. I'm sure people are going to break that. So watch out. Buy your Mox Ambers now. Next up, we have Baron Helmet Zero. This is another person I do not recognize from the movies. 3 mana 3/3, all black. So gotta be mono black to play this. Human Noble Villain, first villain we've talked about. Whenever you cast a black spell from your hand, Baron is going to connive. So loot away and it'll grow. Then Boast. So Boast is from Kaldheim, I'm pretty sure. Boast just means you can only activate it if this creature has attacked. So you can do it during combat. You declare attackers attack, hold priority, activate it if you want, unless it can only be activated at sorcery speed. This one does not say that. So once you've attacked, you can do it once a turn. So you can exile any number of black cards from your graveyard with 15 or more black mana symbols among their costs. So when you're conniving and casting black spells, you're just loading your graveyard in theory with all these black mana symbols, kind of like devotion. So once your devotion is 15 in your graveyard, you can exile them, and then you copy all exiled cards, and you can cast up to 3 of the copies without paying their cost. I don't know why it's worded like this, but you pretty much get 3 of them for free from your yard. So there's a 4 mana, there's a 4 black pip, huge demon. There's a couple of those in standard right now. So in theory, I could see you playing this on 3 attacking and already having the full 15 in the yard. 5 quadruple black pips and something else. It's doable, and then you're cheating in all these super powerful demons. So very interesting. I have a mono black commander deck. I don't think this card slot's in there. My graveyard just doesn't get filled up like that with pips. Pips is very interesting. So we will see how good this is, but definitely flavorful. Let me know about the character in the comments if you know him, but we're just going to move on. And we're going to move on to a character I do recognize, and that is Dr. Doom himself. So Doom is a 6 mana 3/3. Human scientist villain. Makes sense. When Doom enters, create 2 3/3 robot villain artifact creatures named Doombot. Okay, so it's really 6 mana 9, So as long as you control an artifact creature or a plan, what's a plan? We'll get to that. Doctor Doom has indestructible, so that's pretty sweet. 3/3 indestructible, and there's two 3/3 bodies hanging around. They're artifacts, so they activate Doom. And then at the beginning of your end step, you draw a card and lose a life. So the whole card is upside. If you flicker Doom, you get more Doom bots. It's indestructible as long as you have any other artifacts, including the creatures that it itself makes. At the end of your turn, you get the Phyrexian Arena trigger, which is better than at the beginning of your turn because you get the card sooner. This card's super good, which makes sense. It's Doctor Doom. They're trying to sell the set. I think it's fun. This might go into my commander deck. It's card advantage. It is good on rate. I do a lot of ETBs in my commander deck, Panharmonicon, stuff like that. So make a whole bunch of robots and kill. So Doctor Doom seems really good. Next up, we have Super-Skrull. Don't recognize this guy, but 4 mana, 4/5, lots of black pips, going back to the helmet card. So it's a Skrull shapeshifter villain, and this reminds me of Kenrith. It's one color, but it has all the colors in its activated abilities. So it's a 4/5 flyer for 4. Good. You have to have the pips, but if you do, it's good. Then for 3, you can make a wall with for 4, including green, it can get +4. For 5, including red, it can deal 4 to a creature. And for 6, it can have a target player draw 4. Now, I'm looking at the artwork. Looks like Fantastic Four related. So the Fantastic Four are the 4 non-black colors. So this must be their villain, context clues. Interesting. I don't think it'll be see play anywhere other than I think people that want to build a Fantastic Four commander deck, this is a fine commander because it has all the colors you need, so then you can have all of them. We'll get to the Fantastic Four commander cards coming up here, but I don't think this card will be particularly good in anything. Next, we have Doom Reigns Supreme. This is a 2 mana enchantment plan. So Doom referenced being indestructible if you control plans. Plans are an enchantment subtype. We'll get into them. It says whenever a villain you control enters, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So that's super solid. It's 2 mana. It's only when villains enter, but it's a good start. And then you put a plan counter on it. So it's counting how many villains you have enter. Then, when the 5th is put on this enchantment, you sacrifice it. When you do, target opponent exiles the top 5 cards of their library, and you can cast 2 of them for free. It has a cap at 5, so they'll lose 5, you'll gain 5, and you'll look at their top 5, cast 2. And what you have to do is pay 2 mana into this enchantment, then play a whole lot of villains. That seems really good. If you think about the decks in Standard right now, you could get a Monument of Endurance. You could get Accumulate Wisdom. You're probably not playing the Lessons, but that's, still some value. The Aang combo deck has those 5 mana, you go get more creatures and put them on the battlefield. I'm trying to think the Badger Mole. You can get a Boroid. There's lots of good things to do in Standard if you're looking at the top 5 of your opponent's deck. Older formats, this probably isn't there. All of your villain commander decks, though, this is just an auto include. You choose the opponent and get 5 of their things out of their commander deck. Super fun, super good. I'm excited to see more plans. I'm sure most of the villains will have their namesake plans. And I also think this is a good card type for future universes beyond. If we somehow ever do DC stuff, those villains can have plans. Bad guys have plans. So I like the flavor here. I like the art. And I think the card has potential, but is probably not there. Moving on, we have World War Hulk. So, I don't know. 5 mana saga. The first one says the next red or green creature you cast can be cast without paying its mana cost. Hulk is a red and green creature. So, Hulk would normally cost 6. You can get him in for 5 with this. So, you're spending 5 to make a creature free. So, you're really just playing it for 5. Lots of good things you can put in if your deck is built around it. So, good first mode. Second one is you put 3 1/1 counters on target creature you control. So you'll probably have whatever you put into play, assuming they didn't kill it. So you'll have a target, grow it up. And then number 3, choose target creature you control. Until end of turn, double its power and toughness and give it trample. So let's just pretend you put in Hulk, right? Put in an 8/8, chapter 1. Chapter 2, you make it an 11/11. And it has all those upside abilities. Let's pretend you don't even attack. Chapter 3, you make it a 22-22 and get in. Seems good. You have to be putting in big stupid idiots and getting in for damage, which might be too slow in standard. Badgermo Cub makes it possible. Landwar Elves makes it possible. Craterhoof Behemoth is in standard. So, interesting card. Could definitely see play. Fun in Commander. I don't know the flavor behind it, but I guess Hulk fights in a world war. Next, we have Thunderbolts Conspiracy. It's not a plan, it's a conspiracy. So it's a 4 mana enchantment with flash. Whenever a villain you control dies, you return it to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, and now it's a hero. So this seems like one of the better things to do in villain decks. It just gives all of your villains a second life, pretty much. I don't think there's a combo with this. The villains enter with finality counters on them. It pretty much says everything it does. I don't know how much building around this you can do. If you have a villain commander deck and you want all your villains to die twice, there you go. I don't know the Thunderbolts and I don't know the conspiracy, but I'm sure the flavor is great. When I saw this spoiled, I thought it was fake because I've also definitely never heard of this. But Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a 3 mana 2/2, and I'm a little worried about this card too. It seems really good. So it's a human dinosaur hero, and it says whenever you draw your second card each turn, it becomes a 6/6 with trample. Okay. Second ability, whenever an artifact you control enters, draw a card. It triggers only once each turn. So you play this, you play an artifact, you draw. That's your second draw of the turn. Now you have a 6/6. That also drew you a card. And the next turn, you play another artifact, you draw another card, you have a 6/6. That has now drawn you 2 cards. So, seems really good in older formats with lots of artifacts. The downsides are it costs 3 in 2 colors. But if this was a 1 mana card and it turned into a 4/4, it would see play everywhere. So, we'll have to see how good this is. It's legendary, so it's good with Mox Amber. Um, Definitely don't know the lore behind this card, and I don't know why it cares about artifacts, but it seems very good. So that is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So that's all the cards we had spoiled that are going to be in standard. We had 4 cards spoiled from the commander set, and it was a fantastic 4 cards we had spoiled. You get it? Because, no, but it was a fantastic 4 cards. Do you get it? So the first one we have is Invisible Woman. So it's a 3 mana 3/3 hero. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you cast a non-creature spell, make a 0/3 colorless wall with Defender and Reach. If you go back to that one card I said was the villain of the Fantastic Four, it made walls. I think it made 0/4 walls. So better. It then says whenever you attack, you may pay all the colors but black. When you do, target creature gets +1/+0 for each creature you control and can't be blocked. Seems fine. 3 mana 3/3 with a really expensive ability. If you cast a non-creature spell, you get a wall every turn. It's fine. Again, this is into the commander decks, so I'm evaluating these in commander, and it doesn't seem that powerful. Next up, we have Mr. Fantastic, another 3 mana card. 3 mana 2/4 this time, with Vigilance and Reach, so Bendy can go up and grab. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card. That was, again, one of the hero's abilities. He can draw cards. And then for 4 and tap it, copy target triggered ability you control twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. That's a pretty interesting activated ability. So you could have him lead your Fantastic Four decks for sure. I think his ability's much better than Invisible Woman's. Figure out things to do with it. It does cost 1 of each color other than black, which is kind of steep. It's kind of like double Psionic Resonatoring. So, interesting to have on a commander. Next up, Human Torch. 4 mana for 3/2. No flying. I don't know much about Fantastic Four. That's not my lore. But the Human Torch flies. I know that. So, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell, so that's the same as the last ones, it gains flying, double strike, and haste. Okay, my bad. I jumped the gun. It can get flying. And it's if you activate, flame on. Okay, cool. Double strike and haste. So it can start getting in for 6 in the air. Pretty good. It does cost 4. And then whenever it attacks, you may pay all the colors but black. If you do, until end of turn, whenever he deals combat damage to an opponent, he deals that much damage to each other opponent. So, pretty interesting aggro commander. Um, in theory, it'll have double strikes, so it'll deal 6 to everyone. You can do that 4 times. I guess it'll only be combat damage on the opponent you're hitting. So, interesting. Just one of the Fantastic Four. And last up, we have the Thing. 6 mana, 5/5. Big old bulky guy. You know, I agree. Trample at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, put 4/1/1 counters on it. So gets bigger, gets bigger. You know, it's the Thing. And then whenever it attacks, you may pay all the colors but black. When you do, double the number of counters of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents you control. So it's worded in the best way, where you can double planeswalker counters, charge counters, 1/1 counters. It's only permanents you control, so you can't double minus counters or stuff like that. You can bulk up on lore counters on your sagas. Um, it also seems like a fun commander build around. You know, having Deep Glow Skate in the command zone is really good. You know, is this better than Atraxa? No, but interesting for super friends and counters and stuff. And just overall, you know, the flavor of the Fantastic Four apparently is casting non-creature spells. I don't know why that's the flavor. If someone knows, let me know in the comment. I didn't think they were big spell slinging people, but those are the 4 commander cards. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the couple of special showcase frames that they spoiled. So we talked about Captain America, the 3/2 with First Strike, but they're doing these comic book covers for the legendary creatures, or at least the notable ones. I think this looks great. Um, I don't love all alternate arts, alternate frames, and I'm not like a huge collector, but I think this is just really pretty. So this worries me for how expensive collector booster boxes might get to. I could see Marvel fans swooping in to get these just because they think they look good. I think they're good for Magic players. I just want them, and I'm not even that into Marvel, so that makes me think that a lot of people are going to want them. And then the second kind of frame is the comic panel frame, and it's for the sagas where you'll have 3 panels and they'll walk through the lore in text boxes. Um, both frames I think look incredible. I'm excited to see what more comes with Marvel. Let me know if there's anything that you're excited to hopefully see. And when more spoilers come, I'll make sure to cover them. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.